Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Heena, Rachh. And I'll be meeting you every week with my episodes High Tea with Heena, which comprises of various life events, life series, teaching, learning, life skills and whatnot. Do subscribe to my channel and do not forget to hit the bell button so that whenever I post a new video, you get notified.
Hello and welcome to the fresh episode of High Tea with Heena. We have with us Dr. Heena Rachh, an educationist, a sports enthusiast, a visionary, a seeker and a great motivational speaker. So, shall we start, ma'am?
All yours.
Okay. Ma'am, today we have a term that is design thinking. We hear so many times the design thinking, so the two things come in our mind, two questions come in our mind. The first one is, can thinking be designed? And the second one is, how can the design thinking be brought into the school?
Thank you, Ramandev, for asking me a question which is very close to my heart. Yes, we do hear about this term design thinking, and it's very close to my heart, design thinking term. When your first question is that, can thinking be designed? Answer is very simple, yes. Thinking can be designed. How it can be designed, we'll come to that. But before that, when you talk about school, again it's very interesting because being in this field for last 30 years into the education field, which I'm very passionate about, I would love to talk about that. Can design thinking be brought to the school? Of course, it can be. It has to be, in fact. What is the problem is that with our current school system is designed around two primary design principles, and both of these are outdated. What is the first principle is that students come to school as tabula rasa, the term given by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, that children come are tabula rasa, blank slate, or they come like empty vessels to be filled in with knowledge. That's an outdated concept. And the second concept derived on the basis of the first concept is that this is best accomplished in an assembly line format in which students are batched and grouped to proceed through a fixed amount of knowledge to prepare them for the future. Both these concepts are outdated.
So ma'am, what can be the solution as per your views?
Disruption. Simple. What do we understand by disruption? Few indicators of global change, if I can right now talk about. Disruption is the world's biggest taxi company. Does not own any taxi.
Uber.
Absolutely, Uber. Yeah, that's the biggest taxi company, but without any taxi. One of the largest accommodation provider, that's Airbnb. They own no real estate. What has become one of the most popular media sites?
Facebook.
Absolutely, creates no content. Or when we talk about the largest movie producers, that's Netflix. They own no cinema of their own. Or when two largest softwares, when we talk about the vendors, they don't write their own apps.
Google and
Absolutely, your Apple. So this is what we mean by disruption, which was not there earlier. We never thought about these disruption. So we have to exactly follow that for design thinking also. So when we talk about design thinking, what exactly is design thinking? Now that is basically divided into 5 steps. Empathy, define, ideate, prototype and test. So it's very simple, where we are going to talk about empathy, defining, ideating it, prototyping it and testing it. Today let us focus on empathy.
Empathy, okay. Empathy is, I think, it's inbuilt in a person, or I can say it's a kind of attitude in a person's life. So can empathy be brought into a person's life? It can be developed. Can it be developed?
Wonderful, very nice. That's very, very doable. Like any muscle, empathy can be developed over time with intentional practice.
Okay.
We feel that it is inbuilt, or some kind of Mahatma sitting at the hilltop is empathetic and Ramandeep and Heena cannot be empathetic. No, it can be developed by consistent practice. And one of the first ways to build empathy, because again, as I told you, that everything is scientific. When we talk about design thinking, we don't talk about some, abracadabra kind of thing. We are talking about a very proper scientific steps. And today when we are talking about empathy, we are going to talk about the scientific steps where we can. And one of the first steps to hone your powers for empathy is observation. Now, seeing something which no one else can see, that is observation. You would love to listen to this professor's classroom story where there were a lot of research scholars enthusiasts. They wanted the doctor's degree and they wanted to take up this research fellowship, and they wanted to have that admission into doctorate. Professors, you know how they are infamous for their idiosyncrasy. So here in the class, the professor says, fine, class, sit down, you all can be my student, but there are 2 tests you need to pass. One is tolerance, another one is observation. Because that's very important for research, that you need to be tolerant and you need to be observant. So children said, that's fine, we are all very tolerant, and for getting this doctorate's degree, we'll do anything. So the professor brings a filthy, liquid, yellowish and obnoxiously smelling, oh my God. And so children were just wondering what is to do with that. And then he says that, yeah, your first test for observation, your tolerance capacity is that you have to dip your finger and lick it. And he does that. And children were like really aghast, oh my God, we have to do this. But they wanted that fellow's research scholar, they all wanted to become. So they said, okay, we'll do that. And one by one, each one would go dip the finger and lick it. At the end, the professor says, you all have passed the first test, but nobody has passed the next test. What? When was that done? He said, I dipped my first finger, index finger, and licked the other one. That is what we talk about, observation. Are we that observant? Once you are that observant, that level of observation, that is the first step to empathy. Now, what could be the second way of building this empathy? Could be shadowing. So, yes, what exactly? That you follow the child. For example, you are following, I'm talking about children because only children are on my mind. So, if you decide that I want to empathize with you, I want to know about this child, so you have observed and you have to shadow that individual, a student or a teacher or anybody of whom you want to empathize with, and you want to study that person. Shadowing 24, yeah, almost 24 hours, in the sense that first day, second day if you have time, to third day, and you keep making a note in the diary, and you will understand that this, if done scientifically, will open new horizons and vistas for you. It will develop altogether a different perspective for you. Because when you understand, you walk in the shoe of that person, that individual, that child, you will understand where he comes from, where she comes from. So a different perspective will surely be developed. The third step for empathy is active listening. So is Ramandeep right now listening to me, or he is framing next question what he wants to? So is your mind occupied in framing the next question to be asked, or you are totally listening to me? So that's very important, the quality of active listening. Then and then only the person will feel connected, that somebody is, see, right now you see in this COVID times and whatever factors with this millennials, you see some suicides cases happening. Only they needed one shoulder to rest on, a ear to listen to. Listening is such a beautiful thing that somebody just needs to feel that, okay, he is being heard. So that is very important. And another very important aspect is be vulnerable. Now this is quite contradictory, that how do you be vulnerable? Yes, because it is two-way traffic. It's not one-way traffic. Empathy has to be, you need to tell that, yeah, even I am feeling the same, Ramandeep, as you are feeling. Because every individual needs to feel that I'm not the only one, I'm not the only outcast, I'm not the only person having, everybody goes through similar kind of emotions, with the other person has to be empathized with. Now this gentleman who was traveling in a train with his 3 kids, and there was another young guy sitting out there watching this gentleman and his rowdy 3 kids, and he was like, what kind of a man he is. These children were jumping around, shouting, screaming, what all they could do to disturb anybody's, to test anybody's patience, they were doing all. So this young man was like looking at that man, looking at, his discomfort was less because of the children making that noise, but more because the gentleman was not worried about his own kids. So he says that, after a while when he loses his patience, he taps the shoulder of that man that, sir, now that you have produced them, can you look after your kids? This gentleman, who was oblivious of the things happening, looking outside, jolts back to reality and says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for disturbing your peace, but I don't know. Actually, I'm coming back from my wife's cremation after that. Just my wife died before a few hours, and I don't know. I've never handled my kids, so I don't know how to handle them. And you can imagine what could have been the plight of that young guy over there. Do you think the kids must have been appearing same rowdy to him anymore? Do you think he must be uncomfortable anymore?
Correct.
So what changed?
He understood the situation actually.
Exactly. Yeah. So walking into the other shoe is so very important, and that is where we talk about empathy. So that is what I would like to tell today about design thinking. That definitely design thinking can be designed, thinking can be brought to the school. It has to be. Without that it is not possible. The 2 outdated concepts of schooling has to be done away with. Disruption has to be brought in, and scientifically empathy has to be imbued in the system by following the steps as we discussed, as observation, as active listening, or when shadowing, being into that shoe of that person, or be it about being vulnerable. So this is all about empathizing, and tomorrow in our next episode we can go further with different other aspects of defining or prototyping or testing and ideation. Thank you so much, Ramandeep, for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your great views. Actually, I can feel that I have become little empathetic today.
That's great. That's great.
So here we are signing off for today's episode. See you in the next episode of High Tea with Heena.